Today, at the foothills of Mount Buller in Victoria, a small group of outdoor enthusiasts will be embarking on a special kind of triathlon. It's a flyathlon, combining a trail run with fly fishing and a little craft beer.
Now, the event originated in the US, but 28-year-old firefighter Sam Wardener has brought it to Australia for the first time. Well, I caught up with Sam before he set off this morning, and he explained what was involved in the race.
The name Flyathlon alludes to a play on words of the triathlon. So instead of it being run, swim, bike, we've got run, fish, beer. So it's a trail running race. Competitors, or fly athletes as we like to call them, they have to carry their fishing gear. We're majority a fly fishing event, but there'll be some spinners out on the spinning fishermen out on the course. And they have to stop at their discretion and catch a fish. They'll then take a photograph of the fish on a supplied ruler and then release the fish back into the water. That photo will be submitted once they complete the course, and then they'll get a score at the end, and the size and species of the fish will deduct a certain amount of time off their run. So if somebody's a slower runner, but they catch a bigger fish, they can make up a fair bit of time, or vice versa.
So Sam, with trail running, we know that's all down to training and to endurance. But what about fishing? Isn't that just basically down to luck?
On the surface, it might appear like that, but especially fly fishing, there's a lot of science behind it, understanding the entomology, so the aquatic life cycles of the insects, knowing where the trout are holding in the river, what insects they're feeding on at what times of the year. So it's a really engaging sport because there's always something to learn. It's quite scientific, and whether it's the mechanics of casting or tying your own flies or learning stream craft or understanding trout behaviour or entomology, there's a lot to learn, and it's constantly engaging.
We've been watching footage of the US event where the sport originated, of course. You've never competed in the US events, so how did you come to know about the race?
I consume so many podcasts, and one day, probably 7 years ago, I stumbled across an interview with Andrew Todd, who's the founder of the Flyathlon over in Colorado. And I, at the time, was not a fisherman, was not a runner. I thought running was the silliest sport ever. But the idea is so unique, and I like the idea of combining sports and being outdoors. I've always tried to be outdoors as much as possible. It just stuck in my brain, and then lo and behold, I found myself in an area where the event would just be so well suited. I found myself running, big shock to me, and I found myself fishing, which was maybe less of a shock. I didn't grow up doing it, but I kind of knew I'd probably enjoy it. And yeah, the idea just stuck for several years, and then I thought, well, unless I fly to Colorado, it's not going to happen unless I make it happen.
I wonder if the Australian terrain would differ greatly from the US event, and would that have much of an impact on the race itself?
I believe that their trails are perhaps there's a bit more elevation involved. Obviously, the wildlife's different. If they're bush bashing down to the river, they're thinking about bears, we're thinking about snakes. That sort of thing's a bit different. But yeah, I mean, more or less, trail running's trail running. I think the course I've chosen to sort of introduce this idea to Australia is probably on the friendlier end of the scale, the spectrum. So, there's not as much elevation. It's quite easy river access.
Sam, could you give us an idea of who's signed up for the competition today? Are they mainly runners or are they fishers?
The majority of them are strangers to me, but they obviously have some passion in trail running, fly fishing, or just conservation, because it's a fundraising event. We've got both men and women and under 18s attending the event, so it's a big spectrum.
You mentioned the conservation element of the race. How important is that to you?
I believe in conservation through recreation, which means getting people out there, getting them to have experiences in the natural landscape, on the resources that we have, like our beautiful freshwater rivers, cold water rivers. And yeah, that will foster stewardship in them. They'll care more about these environments, and trail running and fly fishing and many other outdoor pursuits are they can be very gear intensive. There's big markets, lots of big companies, there's lots of money getting thrown around. And the companies do really well at redirecting some of that money into these conservation efforts. But hey, what's a few more dollars it's not gonna hurt. So, I'm providing an opportunity for people to sign up for an event where they're going to have some fun, they're going to build some community, meet some new people, win some prizes, but most of their money is going to go to a conservation organisation.